Magomed Ankalaev is next in line to face Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight world championship. Also, these fights have been announced as official. We've got Diego Lopes versus Yair Rodriguez as the main event for UFC Fight Night Mexico City, which I don't really understand. And we also have Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales in Miami, UFC 314, April 12th, Miami, Florida. I'm assuming this is where Alex Pereira's next title defense is going to be as well. And maybe this could be where Ilia Topuria ends up fighting Alexander Volkanovski, because Diego Lopes, Yair Rodriguez is a matchup that makes zero sense whatsoever. But there you go. I don't understand this matchmaking. But first of all, we're going to talk about Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. According to Ariel and his sources, Alex Pereira is fighting Magomed Ankalaev next. This shouldn't have been a conversation. We don't need to clear this up. However, we do, because yesterday there were reports of him fighting Alexander Volkov in the heavyweight division. And of course, after he said, before in his, on Twitter, he was saying things like, it won't be Ankalaev, let's keep them waiting, John Jones. Like, he was basically teasing Ankalaev for not getting a title shot yet, even after the win against Khalil Roundtree. Now, I always saw this as Alex Pereira is trying to rile up Magomed Ankalaev to make him emotional, to make him not like Alex Pereira, so that he's more likely to try and exchange on the feet if they do end up fighting. I am going to go with Alex Pereira winning this fight. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira because I keep thinking that Magomed Ankalaev is this like dominant guy who's going to get a takedown on someone. And he just seems to not do it ever. You know? Like, he couldn't really do much to Thiago Santos. I know this is a while ago. And of course, once Jan Blachowicz got tired, he could get takedowns on Jan Blachowicz, but couldn't do before then. And I know Jan Blachowicz has got good takedown defense and has even taken down Pereira for a whole round. But he was, you know, he was getting pretty easily taken down by Glover Teixeira, not Ankalaev. Ankalaev seems to wait a long time before he actually goes for his takedown attempts. Maybe in this fight it'll be different. I imagine so. He will be shooting a lot earlier into this fight against a guy like Alex Pereira. But judging by his weakness to low kicks and the fact that his takedowns aren't really the most impressive and aren't really the most dominant that we've seen in the light heavyweight division, I don't think this is like a mountain too high to climb for Alex Pereira. I don't see this as some kind of like kryptonite that he's going to have to deal with. Ankalaev has quite short arms. His boxing defense is iffy at times. You know, we've seen him caught by counter hooks against Thiago Santos and put down. And, you know, Alexander Rakic was giving him a lot of problems in round one. I know a lot of people online were scoring round one to Ankalaev because his name ends in a V. But you know, round one, Rakic was having his way. He was low kicking. He was landing shots. He was doing this thing on the back foot. I think Alex Pereira is going to be able to deal with Magomed Ankalaev. And he's just been buying himself time. Training camps, staying active, buying himself time for this type of opponent. I just saw him grappling with Baralho on Twitter recently as well. And he was hitting some reversals, some sweeps, and he was on top in moments as well. Maybe Baralho was just letting him work, but that's all good time for Pereira before he goes into a matchup against Ankalaev. If he would have fought Ankalaev around the time he was going in there against the Bruno Silvas of the middleweight division, I would have had a very different opinion. But I feel like Alex Pereira might get this one done. So I guess we can stop the whole ducking rumors because the fight ended up happening when it was supposed to happen. I don't know when this is going to happen. I feel like they could try and save this for an Abu Dhabi card. I know they don't have Makhachev at an Abu Dhabi card this year. Maybe they'll try and save this for like a May. I could see May being an Abu Dhabi card. It could also be the headliner of UFC Miami in, April the 12th. That could also be the case, and maybe that would be preferred because it'd keep Alex Pereira a lot more active. But I'm just trying to think, if the Abu Dhabi card is in May and International Fight Week is in June, what is there really going to be for Abu Dhabi? You know, there's Jones-Aspinall, which may be happening. I know Joe Rogan walked back saying that they were going to give John Jones the $30 million, and now John Jones is retiring again, which Dana White said he would never do, but Dana White told Joe Rogan to say that. It is what it is. Maybe I'll do a whole other video on that. Probably not. But I feel like this could be the main event of an Abu Dhabi card because they might not have Makhachev. If Makhachev were to beat Arman or Arman were to beat Makhachev and they do the rematch in Abu Dhabi, or Makhachev faces another contender or moves up to welterweight or something along those lines, I guess they have Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. They do have that. That seems like a perfect fight for a UFC Abu Dhabi card. I know they're going to do a pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi early next year, and we haven't had it announced yet. And I don't think it will be International Fight Week. So maybe May will be Shavkat versus Bilal in Abu Dhabi, and this will be in UFC Miami with like a Volkanovski Topuria 2 co-main event with also Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales on the card as well. So I'm going to lean towards Pereira. I may end up picking Ankalaev. But this is a good one. This is a big fight. Sometimes it doesn't have to be the biggest trash talkers. The deserving fight is sometimes the most exciting fight coming up. The one you've all been waiting for, you know? And this is a big one. So looking forward to this fight. We also move on. Diego Lopes, Yair Rodriguez. I have some things to say about this fight. I don't understand it at all. It confuses me. I hate it. I despise the UFC for making this fight. It's disgusting to me that they do this. But UFC Mexico City, the Mexicans come first beyond logic, beyond order of the division, beyond anything. The UFC's so fucking desperate to get one of these guys as a top fighter. You can't force savagery. You can't force warrior on a nation. Okay? They don't got it. They don't got it. Okay? I'm sick and tired of it. But no, they have to have a great main event with two Mexican fighters. One of them's Brazilian. Diego Lopes, Yair Rodriguez. I'm done ripping on Mexico. But why is Yair getting this opportunity? It should be Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. They're both coming off losses. Why is he getting an opportunity against a guy who should be in a title elimination bout? Why is this a title elimination bout with Yair Rodriguez involved? I don't get it. I guess this delays Movsar Evloev. Maybe they asked Movsar Evloev to take the fight against Diego Lopes and he said no. No, I don't want a title elimination bout. No, I want to fight 2 more times before I end up fighting for a belt. Because if Lopes wins this, he's undeniable. But he's undeniable in the wrong way. He's not undeniable against someone who is also has a potential to be undeniable. That's the best time to get your undeniable status for a title shot is by eliminating someone who could also be seen as undeniable if they beat you. That would be the Lopes-Evloev rematch. That's the matchup. How did they fumble this? Do Arnold Allen, Yair Rodriguez as a main event in Mexico City as a fight night? Diego Lopes is pay-per-view worthy. Lopes-Evloev 2, UFC Miami in April on the main card with Volkanovski Topuria 2 as a co-main event of Pereira versus Ankalaev with Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales on the card. And then maybe Masvidal comes back against Luque or Ban Elliott, who's been calling him out. He's been calling me out as well. Diego Lopes, Yair Rodriguez. I'm picking Diego Lopes if he doesn't put him away on the feet, which is dangerous, by the way. Yair could pull this one off. I imagine he could get down Yair Rodriguez and do what he wants to him on the ground. So part of this fight that is going to go unnoticed. Yair Rodriguez is good when he's on his back, when the opponent on top of him is completely rocked. But he's not so good if you get him down fresh. As we saw in the Brian Ortega rematch, he makes a lot of mistakes on the ground. He's very weak on the ground. He's very frail, soft, very easy to pass over, very easy to do what you want with on the ground. I'm trying not to get John Jones any ideas here, but this is a good target for you, John. No, I'm joking. Diego Lopes is probably going to beat Yair Rodriguez and get his title shot. But I just don't know why the UFC wouldn't make him versus Evloev in a rematch. You know, I see a comment here, Lopes ducking Movsar. You know they offered that matchup to Movsar first, and if they didn't, why? Why are we doing Topuria Volkanovski too? It should have been, in my opinion, in the featherweight division, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. No, fuck off. It should have been Ilia Topuria versus Diego Lopes in Spain, because they both speak Spanish. How have you fumbled that, UFC? They both speak Spanish. Do that in Spain. Ilia Topuria, Diego Lopes. miraculous circumstances and coincidences, they both happen to speak Spanish. At the peak of the sport. Do Ilia Topuria, Diego Lopes in Spain on a pay-per-view. How have you fumbled this? Then you do Volkanovski versus Evloev for a title shot. You do Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. And then after you do the winner of Arnold Allen versus Yair Rodriguez against the winner of Josh Emmett versus someone, you do Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. I don't know how they messed up matchmaking the featherweight division this badly. This has ruined everything. However, it's still a really fun fight, and I'm glad it's happening soon. And Diego Lopes is the savior of the UFC. If the UFC did offer this to Evloev and Diego Lopes is just the one accepting fights against anyone, and Evloev said, no, this might be a little bit too soon, this is during Ramadan, maybe that's what it was as well, it could come down to that. I know that takes place in March. Maybe that's what this is. I just don't understand why Diego Lopes has just beaten Brian Ortega, who beat Yair Rodriguez, and has now earned fighting backwards in the rankings against a loser in Yair Rodriguez. How many more opportunities does Yair need to show you he's not the guy, UFC? He's not the champ. He's not the guy. Doesn't matter if you give him some fake belt against Josh Emmett, even though Alexander Volkanovski did not need to have an interim belt made in a featherweight division. It doesn't matter what you do. Let a Mexican person become a champion authentically. Don't Taco Bell this, okay? Let's do some authentic fucking food truck Mexican shit. Like, I don't understand why this is... How many more times does Yair need to show you he's not championship worthy? Why is this matchup being made? But Diego Lopes is a G, staying active. He's fighting anyone they give him. We move on. Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. Now, Gilbert Burns just fights anyone that seems dangerous to him. This is actually a pretty winnable matchup for Gilbert Burns. Out of everyone that's sort of coming up right now in the welterweight division, I know there's a lot of prospects on the rise, and some of them have made it to the top 5. Some of them made it to the top 10. Some of them have made it to the rankings. I feel like Morales is the least impressive of all of them. But he is good. And consistently beating people by decision and consistently beating people in ways that, you know, he's been doing. It's impressive to do. It's very difficult to do. So I do rate Michael Morales for that. I wish I could stop this Burns fucking griddying with his kids gif, so I'm going to move that out of the way. But either way, I don't think this is like a RIP Gilbert Burns type of matchup. Like, this is approachable for him. He's probably going to be the underdog. I'm probably going to pick Michael Morales, but I don't think this is like, wow, Gilbert Burns really signing his funeral ticket, or whatever they would say. You know, he's really signing his career to an end with this matchup. He's done. This is him taking one more for the fans. He's being fed to the wolves. I think there's an approach here for Gilbert Burns to beat Michael Morales. I don't see it happening, but it could. I'm going to go Michael Morales, though. This could be on the main card of UFC 314. It depends how stacked it is. I could also see this headline in the prelims. What I would do is, again, Ankalaev, Pereira main event. Volkanovski versus Topuria 2. I can't even say Topuria's name first. You know what I'm saying? Topuria, Volkanovski 2 in the co-main event. I mean, I would have done Diego Lopes, Movsar Evloev on the card, but whatever. I guess we've got Burns versus Morales as well. We'll see what goes down. Maybe an Aljamain Sterling versus a Brian Ortega on the main card. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. This sort of clears up some things at welterweight. What does this mean for the rest of the welterweight division? It kind of means Jeff Neal. Who is Jeff Neal going to fight next? What I would do is Leon Edwards versus Jack Della Maddalena in the main event of UFC London. I would do Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. How about that, Usman? How about you fight someone rather than saying that no one's ready for Usman? You guys got to prove something first. I saw him saying today that when it's time, I'll fight. Well, how about we have a fight out of Usman? Or quit yapping. But I would do Usman versus Buckley, Edwards versus JDM, Bilal versus Rakhmonov, and then what else is there to do with the welterweight division? Ian Gary, I guess, can now take on I guess you would do now Sean Brady versus Jeff Neal. Ian Gary, Colby Covington. I just want that matchup made. This kind of clears that up. That's really all there is to it right now in the welterweight division. So that's how I would match things up, seeing as we've just got Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. But we'll see what happens. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. Yeah. Why would they do this? There's no good Mexican male fighters. There's Yair Rodriguez. Like, there's some that are from America that are really good. But, like, out of Mexico, like, stop giving Yair layups. Like, this guy is like one of the most privileged careers in the UFC right now. At the time, the Josh Emmett win was good. And it's looking even better now, don't get me wrong. But that being for an interim belt was very privileged for Yair Rodriguez. And they had him up there with Grasso and Moreno as like, wow, dude, one of the champs, just one of the champs with his like, they were thinking of making him like a Mexican-themed belt, like they were doing for Alexa Grasso. And I'm like, it's not even fucking undisputed. What are we customizing it for? How does this make any sense? The market's not there, it's not there. Wait for fighters to emerge from a market enough to demand the privilege of them. Okay? At least that's somewhere I can understand Dagestani privilege. These guys are dominating. They're doing great stuff. Some of them are champions in the sport. Lay a couple of them up, maybe. But this is just like, how many more times does Yair get a title elimination bout? This could ruin featherweight. Because if Volkanovski and Topuria happens, and let's face it, Topuria probably beats him again, why are they doing that fight as well? There's no hype for that. You need to show people that Volk still got it against an Evloev before you chuck him back into a Topuria matchup, because otherwise it's just going to be like, oh, well, Topuria beaten out a prime Volk, which is probably true, but let's do something to maybe give the second win some value. Rather than it just being, and he beat Volk again. But that was when Volk was done and chinny. You know what I mean? Some people don't even give him credit for the first win because of it coming off of a loss to Makhachev. Ugh, it is what it is, though. If Yair wins, then we have to, We have to wait while we do Yair Evloev? Will Evloev have taken a fight in this time? Who can Evloev take a fight against until the middle of the year? Whatever. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Just confused at all of the decisions that the UFC makes, but maybe they offered it to Evloev and he said no because it's during Ramadan. Maybe that's what it is. There you go. See you later. Goodbye.